Hey, what's going on everyone? My name is Quarbit, and welcome to Hearts of Iron 4, a game which I suck at. Not only are we doing something different by playing Hearts of Iron 4, but I'm also going to be playing with Kaiserredux, which is like Kaiserreich, but a lot spicier. And if you don't know what Kaiserreich is, you've probably been living under a rock. In the world of Kaiserreich, the German Empire won World War I, and because of this, France and Britain decided to try out a little bit of communism. Russia never falls to the Bolsheviks, the King of Britain flees to Canada, and Italy decides to break in two. As you can imagine, there are a lot of interesting things that can happen in a scenario like this, and Kaiserredux takes that and cranks it up to 11. But today we're not going to be focusing on any of that stuff, and instead we're going to head over to America to try and play one of the fractured Civil War nations. The goal is to wait until the Second American Civil War, and then we'll play as New England and do a couple of interesting focuses. And surprisingly, to actually get this done, we're gonna have to start off as the Kingdom of Canada, and you're gonna find out why pretty soon. Now, usually the objective of Canada is going to be reclaiming the British Isles from the Union, but today we're gonna be using them for a different purpose. Now, we can't actually do anything until King George dies, so... Oh, well, that was fast. Now, all the Canada lore doesn't really matter. We're really just going to be sitting here and waiting for a while until the Americans collapse. Eventually there'll be like 5 or maybe, 9 successor states pop out of the US, and the only one we're really interested in is New England. Well, that can't be good. Okay, so we've reached November, which is right around the time when the American election happens, and it looks like William Haywood was actually elected, and so, this situation's not gonna last very long. Oof. Now that's gonna leave a mark. So finally we get introduced to our side of the story here, where we just have to wait until New England wants us to walk in. New England doesn't actually want to fight in the Civil War, so they request the aid of Canada to come in and just occupy it. Oh yeah, it's Civil War time. So let's take a trip into New England. And now we have to figure out exactly what we're gonna do with them. In regular Kaiserreich, there are 3 different options here, but with Kaiserredux we have these other 2. So, let's release New England but ensure loyalty. So here we are under the protection of the Entente and untouched by the Civil War that will rage for the next 3 years. I'm going to start off by grabbing a little bit of industry research, and we'll go with mobile warfare. For now we'll build some guns and a couple of convoys. Thanks to our allies in Canada, we have set up a provisional government in Boston as we prepare to liberate the rest of our country. Unfortunately, not many people both in and out of the states in New England believe that we are the true and legitimate America, and we must rectify this problem. Oh, don't you worry. We'll be changing that real quick. Now isn't that cursed? So as New England, we have a very large and extensive political tree. That's basically everything on this side here, and a little bit of extras on the right side. And you can choose to go down your regular normie path of just becoming a regular republic again, or maybe some weirder focuses, but definitely the most cursed ones by far are on this left side here, where you can decide to make America its own monarchy, which is cool, I guess. You can put H.P. Lovecraft in charge of America, which makes things even weirder. Or for maximum irony, you can decide to become a dominion under Britain again, and I do love me some good irony. The Second American Civil War is by far one of the more interesting things in the game, because for every single country there are like 4 or 5 different paths. So let me know if you want to see some more Kaiserredux in the future. I certainly won't be running out of things to do anytime soon. Now, this could either go perfectly for us or it could go really poorly. If Canada decides to intervene in the American Civil War, then I'm going to be drawn in, and I don't know how likely it is that I'll be able to complete my entire focus tree. I'm also nowhere near ready to declare an actual war. Looks like I'm going to need a lot of guns, so let's produce them 15% cheaper. Oh yeah, there's also this thing called the IEDC, which is super useful. Basically, we sink in a couple of political points, and every now and then we get a free factory, which is pretty nice. Sorry, that's actually the wrong event. The IEDC gives us 20% construction speed for a year. You can also pick between these 2 things, but right now, we really need construction speed. Now, interestingly enough, if you decide to go down this left path here for the army, then you actually get 10 research bonuses for mobile warfare doctrine, which is actually the entire tree. So the row of infantry I'll be using to fight is looking pretty good along the way here, and I have nothing else to research, so it's tank time. By the way, the infantry division I'll be using is very simple, literally just a bunch of infantry and a bit of artillery. Artillery's fairly expensive to make, and I have a ton of men, so I can just stuff them onto the battlefield. But the real problem comes when the enemy has better infantry than I do. And how do you beat better infantry? With massive tanks, of course. So despite having significantly smaller industries than everyone I'll be fighting, I'll still be able to break through pretty easily. And we have a very healthy stockpile of guns for the war, so let's start building a couple of tanks. Now the tanks are going to be the bread and butter of our army here, so it's going to be looking something like this, with a whole bunch of companies and all that. We need to make them as strong as possible so that the enemy has no chance of surviving a breakthrough attack. We can use a bit of extra army experience to make these tanks better, actually. Well, this could be a problem. Of course I'm going to join in, but I have no idea what's going to happen from here on out. And it looks like the syndicalists are, leaving for some reason. Alright, well that works for me. As long as everything happens on time, we should be able to pump out a couple of tanks before we're done the entire war. Okay, so we're definitely going to want to go to war economy pretty quick. And I need to keep on making more tanks. Okay, and now we can integrate ourselves into the Empire. Apparently this makes us a dominion again instead of a kingdom for whatever reason. But that's not the extent of how cursed it gets. It gets worse. I actually have so much manpower that I can just swap the total mob. New England just gets a bunch of focus bonuses for free manpower, so I don't really need as much as I have here. So the first tank brigade isn't entirely done, but I'm just going to drop it down anyway, because we need to make some progress. The best place for the tanks is probably going to be right here, so we're going to go right into Cleveland. What do these guys have, like infinite manpower or something? Oh, okay, yeah, basically. Well, it's all basically just militia and infantry, so the tanks should deal with that just fine. Alright, let's see what these puppies can do. Yeah, that'll do it. These guys are very determined to lose a bunch of men. They keep on attacking in waves over and over and over again. So it looks like World War II just kicked off between Germany and France and England, and maybe Russia will join in, who knows. But from my experience, 90% of the time Germany just loses this war, so don't expect too much. The real fun is the cycle charges over here, which never seem to end for some reason. Alright, this is definitely the chance to move in. That would be a massive encirclement if we can break through into the city. Let's go! Push, 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 come on. There we go. Alright, now let's take down Philadelphia. Now, unfortunately, since the Canadian government is supporting the old government of America, some of these are actually going to get flipped to them. And there's one way to solve that once I, declare war on all of them. But for now, at least we get to kick one of the members out of the war. Right, this could be a bit of a problem. So, for some reason, France and Canada think they're going to get anything done over here in Europe, which is absolutely not true. Yeah, good luck with that one. Well, looks like the AI just gave me some free opportunity for an encirclement, so rate my encirclement, am I right? Anyway, that's about like a third of the army, so this should be easy. Alright, finally we've matched our tank production with our tank usage. Took long enough. And for some reason, they left Cleveland open. I have no idea what leads to that, but okay. And clicking this button would put me at war with the rest of them. So I think for now it's probably a good idea to not click that button. And instead we get to decide whether or not we're going to take orders from the king or from Ottawa. There isn't too much of a difference, either you stay a puppet on this side or you become free on this side. And for maximum irony, I'm just going to be picking the left side. And you'll see why in a second. Alright, now it's time to crown the king. Now, a pretty decent idea would be to use our intelligence agency to form the cryptology department and try to force our way through America. As the syndicates have shown, it's not easy to win against some of these countries. They do get easier the further west you go though, that's for sure. But the syndicates are definitely the toughest to crack. Well, now we finally made it past all the forests and hills and mountains and stuff, and we get to the Great Plains where we can just use tanks everywhere. Like a hot knife through butter. Ah yes, coronation in Boston. The region has obviously not had a king in quite some time, and the crowning of Edward VIII will be a stark contrast to the Boston Tea Party over a century and a half ago. Ooh, that's some tasty irony. Rip Detroit. Okay, well that was fast. I don't remember taking Chicago, but alright, I guess I get to take New York? Cool, I guess? Well, now that that's over with, I'm gonna try something a little interesting. So I have these troops here labeled Order 66, and I have mill access from the Americans right now, so let's give this focus a shot. Okay, never mind, they teleported all the men back to my capital. Okay, I didn't even know you could do that, but the more you know, I guess. Right then, anyway. Alright, well this is fine. It's a little funny, but it's fine. Of course I'm going to have to call Canada into this one, which is a little funny because now Canada's going to swap sides. And I think their men are going to disappear as well. RIP. Well, at least I know for a fact that there shouldn't be anyone on Washington. And since the United States hasn't recorded anything beyond like 3 states, they should collapse within like seconds. And RIP. Okay, so I did manage to take the majority of the American territories, which works for me. And now I have just a disgusting amount of infantry equipment, so we won't be needing this. Okay, so these guys only have 800,000 at most deployed, so they should be a lot easier to fight off. Looks like they've also been building tanks, but I don't think they're nearly as good as mine. They also just, you know, don't really have tanks in that brigade yet. Not a lot left in there, huh? Everyone gangsta till the tank encircles the tank. Well, that was easy. Wait a minute, is Germany actually winning? Nah. That can't be right. I'm sure they'll fall apart soon. Speaking of falling apart soon, I can't believe this actually worked. And RIP. It doesn't really matter what I end up taking in the end because, like, we're still at war with each other, so whoever occupies what is just going to be occupying it anyway. There we go. Okay, now there are basically no mountains for a little while, so we're going to swap these guys over to Marines instead of Mountaineers. And I guess I have enough support equipment to slap on some new things on this division. So, Recon and Engineer Company. Look at those puny little light tanks. Cute in comparison. Alright, now that we've wiped out about a third of the Union's remaining army, it should just be a matter of time before they capitulate. And just when you thought you weren't having enough fun, the Pacific States of America have decided to become a Japanese puppet. So who knows, you might even end up fighting Japan. Yeah. RIP. Right, so 2 problems. We have to hold against the Mexican border, and continue to fight off against the Pacific States. Fortunately, a large portion of this is just desert, so we should get through pretty quick. Alright, Sacramento, San Francisco, go. I don't feel like sitting here for a while. And Los Angeles, and San Diego. And all that's left to take at this point would be Seattle. Oh, it looks like Japan's finally arrived, that's not good. Okay, we need to finish this fast. We're so close, I just need Seattle, come on! Come on, there we go. And that, I think, is GG. Now, I gotta be honest with you, I have never had Japan intervene in the Civil War before, and I noticed that we didn't actually get a peace conference when Pacific States collapsed. So at this point, I'm not actually sure if I'm going to be technically the winner of the Civil War, even though there is no one left. Because, for some reason or another, the Pacific States actually lost their great power status, so we're not going to get a peace conference with them. I'll try occupying the rest of the American land and see if that does anything, but I think we're sort of stuck here. And all land in America is now ally-controlled, so I just don't think the event's going to fire. Okay, well we'll take care of Mexico and I'll figure something out. So because things aren't working the way they're supposed to, let me just go ahead and explain what it's supposed to do. What happened this time is that the Pacific States just went down their foreign relations branch and decided to go with Japan. Now, I've never actually seen that before, usually just they end up dying or someone wins the Civil War. When the Pacific States have been pieced out and there's only one successor state in mainland America, then anything that Canada occupies or controls basically goes to you, as long as you are their puppet or their ally or whatnot. So if there were a peace here today instead of continuing to fight Japan, then we would probably end up getting all of our territory back. But because white peace isn't an actual function in this game, I'm gonna have to do some weird maneuvers. Okay, so I had to do a bunch of weird commands to get this whole thing to work, so what's supposed to happen is we're supposed to be given a bunch of our land back once the Civil War ends, but because Japan intervened, we didn't really get a peace deal, so I had to force a peace deal, but the white peace wasn't working, so I had to annex all of them just to make that work out. And who knows if I'll actually get my land back. On top of that, we're also supposed to get an event that signifies the end of the American Civil War, and it's supposed to rename me over to, you know, the United States of America. But I think the entire system broke today, which is awfully inconvenient, so I'm just going to click on this mission, or that focus rather, and I'll show you kind of what it's supposed to look like. Alright, there we go. Imagine this, but, you know, a lot bigger and more impressive. For example, here's a test run I did a couple of weeks ago where things actually worked the way that they were supposed to. Canada didn't intervene in the Civil War, I just declared it myself, and then we went along and invaded everyone. Normally, you just change your name to the United States of America, you get all your land back from Canada, and once this finishes up, then you become the 48 colonies. Exactly like this. So, no idea what went wrong that time, but this is ideally what it's supposed to look like. Anyway, happy early 4th of July, and if you liked the video, don't forget to leave a like, leave a dislike if you disliked it. This is Quarbit signing off, and as always, have a fantastic day. Massive thank you to the kind people supporting me over on Patreon this month, especially those we have in the general tier: Quiet Guy, Brendan Arsenault, Ben Greenhagen, Torvald, Dire Avenger, and Farron. Those in the Prince tier: Rockbox 2020, Robert Kaleno, and Bouncer Steve. In the King tier we have Chewy Shoot, Natsuki, and Snowraven. In the Elector tier we have TFLJ Martus. And in the Conqueror of Worlds tier, as always, we have The Watcher. Thank you guys very much for your pledges this month, and I truly do appreciate them.